All right, week 11 in the NFL, the Sunday portion of it at least, is behind us. And I thought overall, mostly a predictable week. Mostly a predictable week overall. But there were a few surprises mixed in there. We did obviously have the end of the last unbeaten team. But I want to start off with going through these games and kind of making sense of what happened with everything. And I think that you start here with the Browns and the Saints in a game where it was really competitive early. In the first half, like Jerry Jeudy had that long touchdown. It was 14-14 for a while, and then the Browns kind of fell off, imploded a little bit. You saw the inconsistencies they had. I thought that in the first half, Denzel Ward played a really good game. It's just a team that is gassed right now. They just don't have a lot to rally around. Nick Chubb clearly isn't the same back that he was, and some of it could be that the O-line is broken right now. But, those were major injuries, and it's difficult to come back from them. Those were major injuries, and it was going to be tough. It was going to be tough for pretty much anybody to come back from that. And I'm not saying that he's completely done, but from what I have seen so far, and it is early, he doesn't seem like the same guy right now. For the Saints, this is a good, momentum for them. I think this is what they needed. 2-0 since they fired Dennis Allen. If you look at it, Taysom Hill, how many years has that guy been reliable for him? Had a ridiculous game today where he had 138 yards on the ground, 3 touchdowns. Just a monster game for Taysom Hill, a guy that's just been in the organization for a long time, has come up with big plays. And the Saints, and the other question you asked, do you really want to be winning these games if you're the Saints? Because they're obviously not a playoff team. They're sitting at 4-7 right now. That can move them to like the position of like a 10th pick later if they keep winning. That's not great. I think these losses are actually going to be good for the Browns in the long run. You're 2-8 right now, have a share for the worst record in the NFL. You want the first overall pick if you're the Cleveland Browns right now. That is your goal, and this is a big tiebreaker game for them. So there's still positives to be taken out of it. You want the first pick if you're the Cleveland Browns. But overall in this game, it was close for a little bit, and then, the score says it all, 21 points in the first quarter with the Saints. It just wasn't going to go. But that was really an unconsequential game to what was going on in the NFL. But then you go to a big game where you had the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears. And it's crazy, too, because it looked like everything was going the way of Chicago for a second. It's like they're going to get this done. They're going to get this huge win against Green Bay. They haven't beat them since 2018. It's going to be an emotional victory. You have all this chaos going on inside the building where a lot of people want Eberflus out, where Caleb Williams is starting to get doubted highly. And they're saying that paying DJ Moore was a mistake now because they can't get him the ball. They're saying they're out of sync. And they were going to come in this game and get a huge win at home against the Green Bay Packers, their arch rival. And the kick gets blocked, and it's just brutal. And you could just feel it. Like, before he kicked that, I said, well, this is going to go in, right? But it's the Bears, and this is a big reason that in my picks, I picked the Packers. I predicted the game flow to go somewhat like this. I figured the Bears would inspire hope. They'd get up at one point, as they did, and they would just find a way to choke it away, and that's exactly what they did. It just looked like everything was lining up. So they're going to get this big win. They're going to turn around the season, maybe have hopes to sneak into the playoffs with a win like this. And the kick gets blocked and it's over. And it's sad, but you really have to start asking questions right now if you're the Chicago Bears. There's questions that need to be asked. Is Eberflus the right coach? I think he's not. If you want Caleb Williams to work, you need to get a coach that is able to see through and through with him. You need a schematic offensive guy. I think that's the best way to do it. Maybe You need an authoritative type like a Belichick or a Vrabel guy to walk in here and just really retool things. But I don't know where you go head coach wise. I would probably eye Vrabel, but at the same time, Ben Johnson wouldn't be a terrible hire for them. And this is all considering that they get rid of Eberflus. But I'm just trying to think, they need to put some sort of offensive clever guy around Caleb Williams right now, or it could go south. Like, these games are crushing. Like the game against the Commanders really crushed them. This might be worse because it's against your right. It's a rough game for the Chicago Bears for certain. Then going on to the Lions and the Jags. The Jags, they scored the first 3 points, and that was it. The Lions, 52-6 this is a team, like I continue to say, this is the best team in the NFL right now. They've showed it. They're really good. It's what are they going to be able to do in the postseason at this point? They dominated this game through and through. They probably should have benched everybody at half. They played them a little later than I would have liked. But there's just so many weapons to this team. You have the two-headed running back attack. That's one of the best in the NFL. You have Goff playing out of his mind. You have St. Brown, top 7 receiver. Jamison Williams is really starting to emerge, taking leaps of just improving through the PED suspensions. He had this 64-yard touchdown that was it seemed like it wasn't even fair. So you look at this team and you have Goff, a guy with crazy accuracy and all these weapons. That's where a guy like Goff in the NFL is able to succeed to the max. When you're able to put him in a situation where you have all these weapons, you have the great OC in Ben Johnson, you have the defense putting them in good position, it just all works out. And 52-6, that's a college score. They're beating teams as if they're like Alabama or Ohio State or something like that, and they're playing against like a Northwestern or against like a Florida or something like that, like Florida this year. But that's what these games look like right now. And it's impressive. It doesn't happen. It rarely happens in the NFL that teams get blowouts like this, but they're looking like one of those top SEC or Big Ten powerhouse teams in college right now. And it's the NFL. It's crazy. And the only question with this team is, I think after what we've seen, if they don't go to the Super Bowl, the season is a complete failure, maybe one of the biggest I've seen. They have to go to the Super Bowl now without their plans. So there's pressure for sure. But my biggest takeaway from this game is that, they need to go to the Super Bowl or there's going to be a lot of pushback. Next, going on to the Vikings and the Titans. And I always stay away from the Titans. I don't think I'm going to bet them to win a game for the rest of the year. And it's just simply because the quarterback situation there, it seems like Will Levis is always getting sacked. He takes a lot of sacks, and that's signs of, for me, that's a sign of probably a miss at the quarterback position when you're taking that many sacks. You got to know when to get the ball out of your hands. You can blame the O-line all you want. You can blame the head coach all that you want. If you're taking a certain amount of sacks like that, it shows me that you're not that aware, that you don't have good pocket awareness. And the pocket in the NFL is pretty much everything. Now, I will say that they don't have a lot of skill guys in Tennessee, so that goes to it. I think the bigger takeaway from this game is I knew Tennessee was going to play bad. I think it's the Vikings, how they've kind of just squeaked by in these last couple of games with really mediocre wins. They're sitting at 8-2, but it's a fraudulent 8-2. Like they're not an 8-2 team right now. The past 2 weeks have been kind of ugly, and we'll see. I could be mistaken, but I need to see them play against some real teams before I make a proper opinion on them, because it's just like the one, they had that long touchdown to Westbrook. It was like just a defensive lapse, and I was like, well, good teams don't do this. So I don't know what to do with them right now. I don't know where I put them. I I don't see a world where this team gets out of the wild, like gets anywhere past the divisional round playoff wise. But that's me saying it now. They need to play more competition. I need to see a little bit more. But that was my takeaway from that game. Going on to the Raiders and the Dolphins. And in this one, the Raiders showed me at the very least, I think that if they get the quarterback right, and if they're able to get a good pick in the draft, like they're also sitting at 2-8 with like Cleveland, with the Giants, with teams like that, where they're in position to get the first overall pick. If they can get a quarterback, you have pieces. Like Brock Bowers is already a top 5 tight end in the NFL. He'll probably, in a year or two, he'll probably be referred to as the best tight end in football. That's what I see right now. That's what it's projecting. He's putting up these numbers, 13 catches, 126 yards, with a quarterback that's name is Gardner Minshew. So for him to do all that is really impressive. But if you look at Miami, I think this is the team, as I said, that there's always that one team in the NFL about mid-season that has kind of faltered a little bit at first, but then they get hot. I think that's what we're looking at with Miami right now. They're that team that has faltered for a little bit, but now they're going to get hot. I think that's what it is, and I can't get over how much drastically better the team looks with Tyreek Hill. And I think a lot of the problems is they had really bad backup quarterbacks that weren't able to do anything. And Tua's made a lot of the difference. And I will say the Geno Smith guy, he played a really good game too. A-Chain plays better when Tua's there too. It just all worked. I think that they have an outside shot in the AFC to make the playoffs. We'll see what happens. We'll see how it escalates. But I thought it was a pretty solid win today. Their defense needs to be a little bit better at certain points, but overall, I think it's a pretty solid win for them. Going on, we have the Rams and the Patriots. This is a really fun game. Really fun game to watch. And if you looked at it, the Rams, Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, it's like that tandem of wide receivers is incredible. Puka's obviously their number one guy they're going to go to the most. But Cooper Kupp, he's still got it. He's still got the ability. He had like a 70-yard touchdown play. He's still got it. You have Kyle and really you have pieces on this Rams team. Their defense is pretty good. If you're looking at the Patriots, I'm happy if I'm a Patriots fan today. This has went a lot better than I thought it would go. Where Drake May is obviously a hit. He's obviously a play. He has the potential to be a really good quarterback in this league, and I think they got a guy for the next however many years that's going to be there. You always can tell when a quarterback is good and is going to be able to be a franchise guy. You can kind of tell early, and I can tell early with Drake May. And I think the big key factors to why I think so is there's receivers that he was getting involved in this game that before him you haven't heard of. Like some of these New England wide receivers, they have very bad wide receiver depth, and I'm sure within the offseason they'll pay for another guy to put it with May, or they might even draft someone. But if you look at it, they have very poor receivers, and you were seeing him just spread the ball around, throw it to all kinds of guys. He's going to work in the NFL. And this is a Rams team that's on the rise. They're 5-5. Could be an outside-looking-in playoff team. This is a good Rams team they played, and they held their own. They had a shot to win the game at the end. If I'm the Patriots, you're obviously not making the playoffs this year. Sure, lose a few more games. Get that skill guy, receiver, running back, whatever you want it to be, in the first round. Put him with Drake May. You could have some here in the future. Spend a little bit of money on defense, figure it out. I thought this was going to be a complete tire fire this year. They actually look like they're getting better every week. So if I'm a Patriots fan from this game, I'm happy. This is about the best possible situation you can get, because not only do you lose the game and improve your draft position, you actually played well enough to beat them, and Drake May is just gaining more confidence. So that's the takeaway from that. Next up, going to the Colts and the Jets. I thought Anthony Richardson needed to come out in this game, and he needed to show them that he was able to do this. He had gotten benched once before. He didn't like that, and came out, and he had a pretty good game, 20 of 30, 272. He had a pretty solid game today. He had that rushing touchdown to put him ahead. Really, and that's kind of what you saw when you thought about drafting him. You saw the pure athleticism. You saw, and you can see it, like the deep ball that he throws, he can sling the ball further than maybe any other quarterback in the NFL. His arm strength's ridiculous. His running ability, he looks like Cam Newton when he runs down the field. He has that ability, and you saw kind of it all on display in this game. It just comes down to, is he going to be able to not be as inaccurate as he's been? And I thought that for the most part, he had a few slip-ups, but I thought for the most part he was pretty accurate today, and he was able to figure some stuff out. For the Jets, really crushing loss. Breece Hall played well today. The first half is what killed them. The first half pretty much, other than that last touchdown they were able to get, they didn't have a first down for like the first quarter and a half. Just a mess there. And I think you need to seriously think about maybe finding a way to part ways with Aaron Rodgers. That's going to be your best shot if you're the Jets. And I don't think they're going to do that. I think they'll run him back, and I think it's a crazy mistake. But if you look at it, so they're 3-8. If you look at their draft position, the season ended today, they'd be drafting inside the top 10. And I don't think that's what anybody through week 11 thought was going to be forecast for the Jets. Like I didn't know if they were going to make the playoffs, but there was no world where I thought they were going to be this bad, and they are. Which is really which I find really kind of insane, but it is what it is right now with them. And it's honestly, if you looked at it too, like there was 46 seconds left when they scored, you knew the game was over. All Rodgers had to do was get in field goal range, and you just knew it wasn't going to happen. He doesn't have that touch anymore. He's not able to do it. And it's kind of a sad topic to talk about because I don't even know where you go if you're the Jets here. I really don't. Enlighten me, someone out there in the comments, what the Jets can do. Because I'm trying to think of like ways out of this. I don't know. I think the only way that would make sense is you have to find a way to get rid of Aaron Rodgers somehow. And maybe if you keep losing, draft a quarterback or something. I don't know. I don't know. Next, we're going to go to the Ravens and the Steelers. Great game on paper. I thought the game itself was kind of a letdown. Where you had the Steelers didn't even score a touchdown. It was all field goals. And Chris Boswell's the MVP of this game. I think the more alarming part for this game is the Ravens just kept giving it away. And I think that the Ravens are a better overall football team than the Steelers after watching this game because they played so bad in this game. The fact that they were in a position to tie the game on a 2-point conversion with however many seconds left is pretty ridiculous. It's pretty ridiculous in my mind that they even had the opportunity to possibly do that because it was looking really bad for them for a long while. And I think that if they clean some of the stuff up, Justin Tucker needs to be better. Like you can't. One of the kicks he missed, I get it. It was like past 50. The other kick he missed, like you can't miss these kicks in these big games. And I think part of it is he is getting older. He's a Hall of Fame kicker, most likely. But you can't miss those big kicks. I thought that the Ravens defense played pretty well in this game. A unit that a lot of people have been, sour on. I thought that they played pretty well in this one, and We'll see if these teams play again in like the postseason or what. They do play again later, but I thought that overall, the Ravens gave this one away more than the Steelers won it for sure. That was my takeaway from the game overall. But the Steelers, you got to give them credit. They played a great game, but I don't know how much faith I can put in you being a great team if you don't score a touchdown in one of these games, and they didn't. So that makes me seem like they left a lot of points on the board, and the Ravens just played so bad. The fact that they keep letting them in, keeping them in, it's alarming for both sides. I think both sides, there were red flags that I saw from both. So that was the takeaway from this game. Next up, you go to the Falcons and the Broncos. And if you look at this one, the Falcons just got crushed. They got crushed in this game. The Broncos are just rolling right now. And they should have beat the Chiefs the other week. Obviously, there was the block kick. Bo Nix continues to look more and more like Drew Brees in the Sean Payton system. And if you really look at it, the years that Sean Payton had those great rosters and those great teams where they were elitely the best, like the year they won the Super Bowl, the years that they went to the NFC Championship, the years they were like 13-3, the biggest thing they had in common is not only did he have the offense going, he had the defense in sync. And I think when he's got a good defense, it reflects on the offense really well, and you're able to package it together. And they showed up today. And I think so far, I know Drake May is playing a lot better, but if I had to rate the quarterbacks right now in this draft class, it would be Jaden Daniels 1 to be Bo Nix 2. It would be. Drake May 3. And Drake May has the potential to move up, but from what I've seen so far, from the winning culture, from the ability, from how they've grown, a lot of it's about how you've grown. And Bo Nix has looked better and better every week, seemingly. And I think it's very impressive what he's been doing. 100%. 100%. Going on to the next one, you have the Seahawks and the 49ers. This is a matchup where the 49ers, I have been saying it time and time again, they haven't really looked great within their mechanics. There's been off things on defense. You have McCaffrey not really looking like himself, and he still doesn't look like himself. And I think some of it is he's still recovering from that injury, and that makes sense. It's going to take time to recover from an injury like that. But Seattle just came in and they gave it to him today. I will say that was really impressive, the Geno Smith last touchdown drive. I didn't think he had it in him. I didn't think he had it in him to go all the way down the field and score that touchdown and do what he needed to do, but he did it. And I think he's shown this year that he is capable. I still don't think he's going to be the quarterback that's able to get them to a Super Bowl or anything like that or win crucial playoff games. But that drive showed he's a capable quarterback. He can win you games. He's in a similar class of Sam Darnold. But I thought that was a really impressive job. Jackson Smith-Njigba continues to get better and better for this team. 10 receptions, 110 yards. Continues to just get a lot better for him. And that's what you want to see from a younger wide receiver. And I think he's done it really, really well. But then you go on to the big game. The game that was the game of the week going into it. I picked the Bills in this game. When you're one of these unbeaten teams, you're so focused on staying perfect through the whole thing that you often slip up. And they slipped up today. That's what the Chiefs did. And I bet you if you ask a lot of these people, this is a good thing for the Kansas City Chiefs, 100%. It's a good thing for the Kansas City Chiefs. You would rather lose a game like this, a tough fall game in Buffalo, than do the very same thing in the postseason. That's what was shown. And I thought Josh Allen had a remarkable game. That rushing touchdown at the end was one of the great plays of the year that I've seen. But I thought overall, if you look at it, it was a good game against two really solid opponents, and the Bills found a way to win it at the end. And I think that if they play in the playoffs, the Chiefs probably find a way to win. But Buffalo was gonna win this game, and I think we knew that for a while. It had all the signs of just a game where the team was gonna fall. This is a bit of a rivalry. It's in Buffalo. It just made sense that the Bills would get this win. I thought they backed it up, and I thought they played a really good game. It was competitive for a long time, and then the Bills I think that fourth down play was really big, where they just said, hey, we're not going to lose this game. We're going to do everything in our power to win this game. And they ran Josh Allen. They said, Josh, take over. Here's the keys. Drive with this car through the wall. And we're to either live or die by getting this first down. And they did, and they got a touchdown out of it. I'm excited. I hope I see this matchup in the playoffs. I do. It's a really exciting, high-energy matchup. But that's going to do it for the Sunday slate of day games. You have the Bengals and the Chargers playing, and then Monday Night Football will be the Texans and the Cowboys. I will see you guys when I do my picks later this week.